Hi, my name is Ashley Fricks. This is my fourth reflection for instructional technology online, and I'm just going to give a brief overview of what this podcast project lecture taught me and all that I learned, what I've known before, and how I'm going to apply it to my future teaching. Before this lecture, I had never seen a podcast for a classroom in the class. I've just seen videos on YouTube or whatever it may be, but I've never used it in my teaching. I think it's a really cool technique that professors have used in the classroom, and I can't wait to use it in the future. There were a lot of things that I really enjoyed about this lecture. One of the things was to see the constructionist view. That was a great addition. I don't really like history, but being able to see the constructivist view and what they think on it was really cool. And I loved how it said how vital it is for the students to be able to be unique and create in their own ways. Every student is different, everyone's gifted differently, and so to remember that we can all use our different talents and skills to make these podcast videos in our classroom, and even as a teacher, as I begin to know that my skills are going to be different from the students, and it's important to let them express them. It's important for the students to begin their process for the end. So what do they want to do? So where are they going to start? And how are they going to get there? So rewinding and looking at previous examples, whether that's through iTunes, whether it's on the website that the lecture gave us, which was podcastalley.com, which gives you a whole bunch of different views to see where these podcasts come from and what one looks like. Because some of our students may never have heard of a podcast video. They just see YouTube videos and they don't know what a podcast video can do or how they can learn from it. So I think it's important for us to remember that we have to let our students to have opportunities to review previous ones, just like I'm doing for this project. I've reviewed previous ones to further my knowledge and my education on this concept. Something I really enjoyed was to remember that we've got to keep our ideas simple. We don't need to be doing complex videos because then students are just going to get confused. Make these podcast videos opportunities where simple things can be shown, where students can learn how to tell a story, where students can learn how to count numbers, simple things like that. Allow it to be simple so the students can see a different learning style. Allow there to always be something on the screen. I never really thought about this, but it's very true. We can't just have something plain, nothing really showing, because the students are going to get confused or they're going to get bored, and I think it's very important that we always have something on the screen, just like the lecture stated. That way they are staying engaged and they're learning and they're continuing to stay focused. Something else that was really important that I think will be good for my students to realize is that sometimes you don't need music. We need to decide if music is important, where it's important, because it can be very distracting. Students will be listening to the music more than they will the lesson or what's trying to be taught. And so therefore it's vital to realize, do we need the music or do we not? And even as students are creating podcast videos, choose music when it's needed. Podcasts are very powerful. It's better when people can see what you're going to do. So often we just hear our lessons. We hear professors get up in front of the room and we hear teachers. But I think it's very important that we show the students what we're saying. Show them how it's done. Reenact it. Show them what we're expecting. We have to set the expectations. We can't expect them to know something if we don't show them. So I think that was an awesome, great point that this lecture made and how I'm going to personally apply that. Something else that I loved was knowing that we have to distract all of the sounds. Get rid of them. Eliminate them. There's a lot of things going on. I mean, even in this room, I know that my air conditioning is still making noises. It's off, but it's still going to make noises. And I think that's very important that we realize we need to try to give our students the best that we can. And even when our students create podcasts, that we need to eliminate the air conditioning, eliminate the fan, people that can be distracting. Don't let people be around because they're going to be more focused towards the sound or the people that are around us than they are the lesson. And that's not our ultimate goal. We need to be enthusiastic when we're creating these podcasts. If I just talk in a monotone voice like this the whole time, it's not going to be fun. So I think that was a really great reminder for me because I love teaching. I love being enthusiastic. But allow that even in your video. Don't just be, okay, today we are going to talk about, that's just boring. The kids are going to enjoy that. So I think that was a great point. Something else I really enjoyed from this lesson was remembering to keep the text to a minimum. The students want to see something. They don't want to read stuff on the screen. They read stuff all the time. So keep it to a minimum, but allow it to be large enough for the students to read. They gave us a lot of details on how to save things as JPEGs for PowerPoint, for Keynote, for Smartboard. The list goes on. There was a lot of great details on how to keep something from a JPEG. Something else I really liked from the lecture, and it was a good reminder and application for me, is to keep the sounds at a constant level. We can't just have them jumping from different lows and highs and not being able to hear it, but being able to hear it. So I think it's good to keep it at a great level. That gave us a lot of great techniques on how to keep that, and it was very applicable, making the transition smooth, not just jumping from screen to screen, but making it a smooth transition for the students to use. Movie Maker was a great thing that it showed us in GarageBand on how to edit the music to finalize everything, so that we can finish the movie and make it awesome. Lastly, I would just encourage my students to produce something so that they can be original. Originality and creativity is what we want our students. We don't want them just grabbing ideas from other websites. Yes, that's going to be needed sometimes, but I think we need to remind our students that it's very vital that we allow creativity and originality. The more original it is, the more effective it's going to be. If I just sit here and regurgitate all this information, it's not going to be effective. I need to be original and show how I learned it and how I'm going to apply it and make this podcast video me, not someone else or what else I saw. Making sure the length is between 3 to 5 minutes. I know this one's a little long, but I just love how passionate this lecture was and how I learned so much, because like I said, I've never done a podcast before. I video my family doing crazy things, but I've never done it for a lesson, and I think this was a great website, lecture to learn and to use. I think something else that was really cool is to realize that we have to create scripts. If we just sit up here and start talking randomly, that's not going to do anything. That's why for me, I have notes and I've been going off of trying to show what I've learned. If I just regurgitate it, it's not going to learn anything. I need to process everything and make sure I space it out and that I really did learn a lot. Lastly, something I really liked was realizing that you can't be moving the camera around a lot when you do podcast videos. Even for our students, it'll be too distracting. They'll be looking here, there, up, down. It could be a lot of issues. If there's lights going on in the background, a lot of lighting, that can also be distracting. So just trying to make these podcast videos more applicable and show them what we're expecting and show them what we're trying to teach them, and not just regurgitating information, but allowing them to make application. And so there was a whole bunch of more things that I learned, but those are just a few things, and I'm really excited to create this lesson and to see how I can further use podcast videos in my future teaching and what my students will learn and get from this. So thanks so much. Have a good one.